What is the beef? This is episode 65. It's the Chef Fit podcast. Make sure you've liked and subscribed to the channel, the videos, and make sure you're sharing this and showing support in whatever way you can. Today, do not retreat, reload. It's today's topic. Petey, what is the beef? What's the crack? How are we doing?
What the fuck is up, gamers? Let's do this.
You know it, son.
I thought if I wear stupid glasses, it will take away from the stupid hair.
I like it, man. I like it. I was going to say
it.
it's a fucking decent quiff. There's no need to do anything with that quiff.
It's serious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking beast. There we go.
Yeah.
Bit of
Michael McIntyre when he's 73. That's what my hair did was.
Mad professor vibes going on there, pal. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
What's the?
I was told it looked like the Trickster when Hamill played Trickster in fucking the Arrow. That was it.
What? The
Arrow.
film?
The television show Arrow.
Never
Where
heard
the
of it.
baddie in it was Trickster once. It's very like the Joker, and Hamill played him, and that's what his hair was like.
There you go. There we are,
Yeah,
folks.
I'm booked in for Monday.
For an old chop at the top. That is.
Yeah. Get the
Sweet.
mop chopped.
It's fucking, I remember during lockdown, the first haircut that I managed to get when the fucking barbers reopened was like, oh my God. Unbelievable. Like walking into uncharted territory again, into the barber, get it cut, come out. I actually realized, was I walking around, it was at least 4 weeks I was walking around like I had a severe fucking mental disability. Like my hair was just the sides outgrow. I'm not far from it right now. The sides outgrow on the top. It's a fuck me, man. You're fit to be put down in that state. What is the fuck?
So I had the back and sides done myself and Source did a job on it every now and again during lockdown, but I never touched the top, and I just had it like combed over back to the side.
It
was so heavy that it keeps flopping down in the middle, and
that's my hair. That's exactly what mine does, pal. You know?
The amount of times when I was doing the kids' hair and I was like, you know what, 30 seconds and this is all over. Yeah. No, I can't.
Just the one patch. Leave them with the fat Ronaldo from fucking. Where was fat Ronaldo coming from with that fucking bad boy? Just leave us the old alfalfa patch on the fucking front of the head there, son.
Yeah, he's fat Ronaldo. He does what he wants.
Oh, fat Ronaldo. Fuck it, there was a period. Was it 2002 World Cup that fat Ronaldo was taking fucking names? Whatever period in time, there was a time. People slag him now. There was a time. Fucking 99.
People were actually walking the streets of Brixton with fat Ronaldos.
No bother. Definitely considered it as a child. What was I going to say to you, sir? So
you were going to say that you got your fucking wings clipped in Melbourne.
Yeah, the situation is on the news. Do you know what? Like, things that really, really fucking pissed me off. Ella, my missus, was talking about an article yesterday, and it's like, okay, cool. So Melbourne, Australia in general, right, in comparison to the rest of the world, is nowhere near as severe a situation when it comes to COVID than, you know what I mean, anywhere else. Like UK, the numbers were fucking terrifying. Ireland numbers aren't nearly as bad, but still far fucking worse than all of Australia. And then you look at Australia and the numbers have been quite low. And as lockdown, I very, very scared at the start of lockdown, kind of as we developed and settled into it after 2 or 3 months, you're like, okay, we are mitigating the risks. There's not, even though there's a danger and there's a risk, there's not nearly as much of a fucking danger and a risk here than there is elsewhere. So I considered myself very lucky and very grateful for that. And then obviously gym started opening up about 3 or 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I believe gyms opened up. Restaurants opened up properly. Slightly limited capacity, but still opened up and, you know, roaring ahead. Obviously, a second wave is going to hit when everything is going back to normal. So I think 2 people had passed away from it. So they're going straight back into lockdown again. And the thing that pissed me off, she showed me an article. It said Melbourne 6-week life sentence, and it was a picture of someone in a fucking hazmat suit. That was the article from the, do you know what I mean? And it's like, and then you got the Prime Minister up going, oh, it's we're all Melburnians now. We're in this together. It's like, fuck me, lads. I appreciate the fact that Aussies are on top of things, but there's a degree of just like, has anyone looked at the rest of? I just don't. The fact that we're going back into lockdown now, going back into lockdown. Like I'm moving back home to Ireland in a couple of weeks. We're going back into lockdown now. So gyms are closing again. I assume a lot of the places will be closing again, which is very, very, very frustrating. You know what I mean?
Stupid. They're like the term second wave is stupid. Instead of saying, I don't know, like a blip or a slight rise. When they say second wave, it's like it's going to be like Wuhan City in January all over again, all over the world.
But are you prolonging the inevitable? And then the other thing that pisses me off is not only are you prolonging the inevitable, but you're scaring people again. You're trying to scare people. And this is why I stopped watching the news, because I fucking hate the media. Like I really, really, really hate news outlets because they're businesses. They're businesses. And businesses fucking, their whole 411, their whole memo is about getting people to read or watch their shit, get clicks, because that's how they make their fucking cash. You know what I mean? So when you got these things going out, 2 or 3 cases where people have passed away, are those, people who had, some pre-existing shit? Probably. Are they all elderly people with health issues? Probably. Do you know what I mean? But they don't want to report the fact that that's the case. They want to tell you that everything's in lockdown for 6 weeks. It's the fucking end of the world again. Everyone, you know what I mean, shut up shop and freak the fuck out like they were doing at the start, which to me is so frustrating. And it shows the control that social media, where everyone gets their news media for the most part, they have so much control over people's fucking minds. Like me and Ella went into the gym. We got an email on Tuesday saying the gyms are closing because they're going back into lockdown. So Wednesday is the last gym session you can do. So we go back into the gym yesterday and it's like the fucking gym's empty, where it was full the day before. And it's like, are people that fucking stupid that they think overnight that the situation has gotten that much worse? Like, really? We fucking out of our minds here? And then I was talking to the guy, we had to cancel our memberships, obviously, because it's the last month and the gym's not open. Talking to your man then, one of the lads who works in the gym, lovely lad, but again, just the he's kind of like, oh, it's disappointing, but like 2 people have passed away, and does anyone have to die? Like, do we have to just keep getting it? And it's like, fuck me, man. Like, what? Are you joking? Like, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm fairly sure in the UK you're talking like close to 20,000 deaths. Would I be totally wrong in saying that it's somewhere in that range? It's definitely over 10,000. Do you know what I mean?
That many cases, not that many deaths, but they're all over the camp over there. Like in Ireland, so we're at the end of Wednesday now, and at 5 o'clock we get told how many deaths there have been that day, and there's been 1 this week.
Do you know?
1 on Tuesday, that's it. None on Monday, none on Wednesday. 2 new cases today. 12 new cases yesterday, and that's it.
It's, again, perspective. So perspective, like that's Ireland. So you could fit Ireland into like multiple times into Victoria, which is the state that I'm currently in. So the country, Australia, is the size of a continent. It is a continent, for fuck's sake. So we're like, the numbers are so small in comparison that I'm all for mitigating risk. I'm all for not being retarded. Like, I'm not fucking looking at the like pictures of London or Dublin, people out on the streets like it's a fucking festival. I'm not condoning that, and I'm not saying that's what everyone should be doing and we should just be let do whatever we want. Absolutely not. Mitigate the risks as best you can. But for fuck's sake, like, close life down, shut everything down again for 6 weeks because 2 or 3 people passed away from fucking COVID in a place that's, you know what I mean, whatever, multiple times, that a state that's multiple times, not a country, a state that's multiple times the size of Ireland. So for me, that's just like, why the panic? Like, are we just prolonging the inevitable? Like, what's the point in closing for 6 weeks and then you come back and then you get hit again? Like, there's going to surely have to be a period of incubation where life does go back to normal. There are going to be cases. you do your best to fucking avoid it. Don't be a fucking retard and, you know what I mean, gather in groups of thousands out on the streets potentially. You know, that would be something to potentially avoid if you don't want to get sick. But for the most part, like, and I don't mean to be bad because it's very
Australia
difficult.
is like a big, huge fucking hipster dickhead California, though, when it comes to policies and, you know, rights and social media perspective of the country itself.
Yeah, very much so. And I love Australia, don't get me wrong, but that is a very true statement. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to beat around the bush on that. It's a very true statement, you know.
So you've got the bands back out. You've got the yoga mat back on the floor.
Fuck me, that's thought I'd gotten away from the bodyweight workouts. They'd served me well. I thought I'd got away from them, but no, we're back into them. Which, listen, and here's the thing about mindset. I'm frustrated at the situation because I had the gym open for a couple of weeks and I had really good fucking momentum built. I was loving my training again because it's like someone had taken my toy away from me and then given it back. I had a chance to work on injuries, so I was able to train without fucking pain. I was like, fucking yes, this is unbelievable. And then it's closed again. So I'm back to the other shit. But the perspective is, listen, you can't change the situation. You change your perspective of it. My goal now.
Don't retreat, reload.
Yeah. And it's like into this episode, it's like, listen, my thing is, I know the situation's changed. I don't like the situation, but I'm going to make the best of the situation. I'm not going to let the fact that something external has happened and that's going to fuck me over. That's not happening. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, what do I have access to? I have my living room, I have a park up the road with a few fucking bits and pieces. I have bands and a yoga mat over there. Okay, right, what can I do? That's what I'm going to take action on. And I'll write down my sessions and I'll have it all done out and it'll be fucking, you know, spick and span because the tool doesn't matter necessarily. It's not ideal that I don't have the gym, but like the tool doesn't matter. It's my mentality towards using that tool. And I won't drop the ball when it comes to the training. I will stay on top of it. And funnily enough, what I realized in going back to the gym was how fit I was from doing the bodyweight sessions, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
Something that's quite fit. And I've been reading, going back over this book that I but I borrowed off a friend and then forgot to get back to him. Now I'm reading it again.
Yeah, and you're coming back to Ireland in a few weeks, so you fucking robbed that shit.
Exactly. So I'll give it back to him. So I'm just making sure that I've never ever lent people books, by the way, folks. You're never getting those things back. But this guy, obviously I'm mad at my training, but Ross Edgley is the guy who wrote this book, The World's Fittest Book. And he's talking about the first chapter. He tells a story about going to Russia to learn how to basically body basics are the number one training law, the best thing you can do. Without body basics, the mechanics of how to fucking move properly, you're fucked. You know what I mean? You're building a house on a foundation of quicksand when it comes to exercise and lifestyle. So body mechanics and how you move are absolutely essential. And he speaks about this, you know, he goes to visit this Russian lad, Nikolai, who's an old man, a wrestler. He's about 110 kilos, 6'5", monster of a man, and doesn't say much. And he wrestles this guy, Ross Edgley, who's seriously fit. And he wrestles him for an hour. And Ross Edgley is absolutely fucking destroyed. He's fucked on the floor, lost, obviously, every exchange they had. Your man Nikolai is standing there like, oh, fucking, you know, like it's nothing. And nothing has phased him. And he's a giant man. And he's done that level of exercise. And it's like, this guy can go for fucking days. He's a machine. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
Ross Edgley, that English SAS guy?
He's not SAS. He's your man who swam. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He swam the circumference of the UK. Or not the circumference, the entire circle, the loop of the UK. So like swam coast from east coast all the way over the top and then all the way back around again. He's a sports scientist, a fucking great book. His episode on Joe Rogan's excellent. But basically the idea of this guy, Nikolai, was, it's like, okay, what's his training? He's like, fuck, his training's so basic, it's nearly primitive. Like, how is he this fit? How is he this strong? And all the majority of his training, and this is a real Russian thing, is body weight. You know what I mean? He got real fucking good at using his body weight. So that's why he's such a good wrestler and you can do it for so long, because he's such good command of his body basics. And what I realized, and even reading that, and it's like, he can wrestle for hours. Like, that makes perfect sense, because from 3 or 4 months that I was doing in lockdown, doing the bodyweight workouts, now when I went back into the gym, Like I'm doing like 3 exercises back to back to back, and I'm taking like 30 seconds rest max, and then I'm straight back in again. My work rate, my physical capacity to do shit is like ramped way up to the fucking gigawatts, and it's way higher than it's ever been before. And the reason that it's way higher than it's ever been before is because bodyweight sessions that we were doing in Sheffield make me uncomfortable. I don't like doing burpees. I don't like doing fucking, you know what I mean, weird bodyweight shit, sit throughs, you know, push-ups, squats, fucking mountain climbers, like all the stuff that I've had everyone doing. And we're doing them like really short and sharp. You're fucking sweating like a cunt. You're moving quickly. You're not getting much rest. When I go back into the gym, I've got this massive amount of capacity to do more work. And that's like, fuck, that's such a good foundation to have, because now I can train really, really hard. So again, what I'm saying here is that every period in your life and everything that you're doing with your lifestyle, there should be there's a reason behind it. It's not just that you're doing bodyweight workouts just to fucking, okay, well now I just suppose that's the only thing I can get away with. There's actually massive benefit to doing those things that will make you better, will make you fitter, will make you stronger, so that when you do go back to the gym, you know, it serves a massive purpose of building a foundation. So that's something I've realized. And it's like, don't underestimate that shit. Even though you hate doing it, don't underestimate it. Because if you hate doing it and you're uncomfortable doing it, chances are you're going to yield massive results if you get your fucking teeth sunk into it and really get good at them, you know? And I think that's been par for the course for a lot of us. It was definitely a period of adjustment, trying to get your shit together to train in your living room. But once you did, and you kind of got over that hump and just, okay, right, well, listen, I don't have a choice. I was going to do the fucking thing. You know, then you start getting actual results in ways that you didn't think you would. So that was a big revelation for me. So as I said,
it's brilliant that when you went back into the gym and you feel that noticeably.
Really surprising, really, really surprising. I thought I was going to go back in. My strength levels are obviously way down because I haven't lifted like actual weight in a long time. But again,
your actual conditioning, your physical state, your mindset, the whole lot was bang on tune.
Yeah, I can go back in and I can train hard straight off the bat. And even within 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks of training, I'm already like, fuck, I can see like serious, you know, differences in my muscle definition. I lost fucking 2.5 kilos. My training is really good. My strength levels are increasing. And it's like, I thought I was just going to go back into the gym and just feel like literally a fucking wet paper bag. Do you know what I mean? And just feel like a sack of shit because I haven't lifted weights necessarily. But actually, all the stuff we were doing at home helped massively going back in. So that's why I'll never underestimate that stuff. And that's why it's important not to be a one-trick pony when it comes to training as well. For anyone with lifestyle, don't be a one-trick pony. Don't be that the person who just does one thing. Like, an athlete does one thing if they have a specific sport. Do you get me? Like when I was powerlifting, my thing was lift the fucking heaviest shit for one repetition, move it from A to B. That's all you got to do. And you get very trapped into that dogma and that way of doing things. And this is true for anything in life. You get trapped into just doing one way. And my thing was just lift fucking heavy weights and your cardiovascular system doesn't work or doesn't need to work and all of that shit. You don't need to recover quickly between sets. It's actually not true. The best way to train is to be fucking, you know, especially for a general population, just people in general, not athletes. You know, you need to be good everywhere as a foundation. You know what I mean? You need to be good everywhere. And then once you're good everywhere, then you can choose to be great at something specific. But you're always going to have limiters on you if you're just that one trick pony of, well, I just like lifting weights, or I just like running, or I just like cycling, or I just like doing this. And it's like, yeah, I get you. You do that thing that you like, you're going to get quite good at it. But the reality is if you ignore your weak points, you're only going to be only so good at something. So again, address your weak points. Generally, if you're uncomfortable doing something, that means you probably should be doing more of it. And you know, and that's what your body tells you. It's like you have to push through adversity to get an adaptation. And if you're not
exactly, we're not just talking here about lockdown. We're talking about adversity in general. Any speed bumps or any situations that can come your way that'll knock you out of your routine more than anything else. Because we get bang stuck into routine because we're supposed to. It's how routine works.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't hold on to that forever. There's always going to be shit that's going to happen. Some of it is avoidable. A lot of it is inevitable. and you have to have the right mindset to be, you know, you're ready for it, ready for what's going to be around the corner.
Yeah.
And then straight away you can go, okay, this is what's happening. This is what we're going to do now.
If you're a kid who has their favorite toy and parent takes the favorite toy away from the kid, what does the kid usually do? They kick and scream and they cry, they throw the other toys out of the pram. When you're an adult and you've got these things coming at you, you can't have that mentality. Do you know what I mean? You cannot have that mentality. And that's kind of what I'm saying here, and what Peter's saying is that even if you're going back to work at the moment, right, and your routine has changed, and maybe in lockdown you had focused on yourself a little bit more because you had more time, and it was a good opportunity to build a solid foundation within your lifestyle. So maybe you were exercising more regularly. Do you know what I mean? You're eating better food, or you're eating more frequently. You were trying to dial in the lifestyle, and you probably felt the benefits of that. Now, as you go back into work, the problem is going to be that you've got less time, you're dealing with more stress, you've got all this, basically this whole other spectrum of shit to deal with in work that you weren't dealing with before. You're going from a period of quite low pressure. You're kind of waking up, what'll I do today? See what happens. There's not a huge amount of urgency or pressure to your days. Now you're going into, okay, fuck, now I'm back doing a 10, 12, 14-hour day. And it's like, shit, okay, where am I at now? I have no energy, no headspace, not fucking, my brain is so focused on work that I have no motivation to train. And it's like, shit, now I'm dropping the ball on my lifestyle, and now I'm freaking the fuck out. What you got to understand is that because that's been taken away from you slightly, you can't freak out. And that's what today's episode is mostly about, is like, how do you not freak out, and how do you actually make the best of the situation so you're able to work and you're able to fucking carry on with a lifestyle change and structure that actually makes you fit and healthy and ultimately happier. I think the big thing
Exact same as in the kitchen. It's preparation.
Exactly. So the first thing that you got to do is you got to quell your own mind first and foremost. Like, you got to quell the anxiety. You got to get out of the freak out mode, because that's what I've seen. Like, some of the chefs that I'm coaching at the moment, they've had a week freak out. Okay. So like the 1 week back, and it's like, oh fuck, you know, this is really difficult. This is really tough to fit in. And then I asked them, and we were talking about it, and it's like, what's the situation you're finding yourself in? You know, and at a hot seat with one of the chefs, Ben, and he was saying, listen, man, like, I'm the sous chef. I've gone in, my head chef isn't there. He's on holidays. My chef de partie walked out, and then the other one didn't come back after their break. And it's like, fucking hell, okay, what effects that had? Well, it means I'm running around like a lunatic and I don't have a minute in the day. I said, okay, fair enough. Totally understand what happened as a result of all of this. He said, well, I've only been able to get the one training session done this week as opposed to the normal 6 that I would get done. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, it's obviously not ideal that we missed the training, but like, let's gain some perspective here. When is the head chef back? He's like, he's back on Thursday. He's like, okay, cool. Do you have another chef de partie to come in? It's like, yeah, I think one of them that didn't come back in the break is coming back. And I think we're hiring another person next week. So it's like, okay, so the reality is it's not going to be as stressful, and you're not going to be as under pressure in the next couple of days going forward. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. So that's the perspective that you need to have. Don't let yourself believe that it's going to be this difficult forever. You know, for a lot, like, things, we're in strange times. We're in times where fucking people are just, businesses are restaurants and whatever, people are just trying to find a way to survive and get open and whatever else. Chefs are going in, and ultimately places are short staffed because a lot of people have been made redundant. So maybe you're going in and you're fucking by yourself, or you've got a skeleton staff, and you're trying to do the same workload that you had when you were fucking, you know, you had a full team. That's not always going to be the case. You know, things will slowly get back to normal. It's UK and Ireland right now, that's slowly happening. And ultimately you're going to have a little bit of that pressure off, but there's going to be an adaptation period for 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, where you're settling back into that routine. So the perspective to have is that it's not going to be this stressful, and I'm not going to be under this amount of pressure forever. And the truth is, if you are going to be under that amount of pressure forever, question who are you working for? And I know that's not an easy thing to do when everyone's post lockdown and everyone's broke as fuck, and you know what I mean. Obviously, you need to make a living, you need to pay your bills. But what I'm saying is, long term, like, if you're just working in a place where you're just, the default is that you're in the shit doing a fucking 14-hour day, and you're constantly under pressure, and the team is understaffed and all of these things, well, that's something that needs to be questioned, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think you get to a point, and we've talked
What
about
was very admirable and a very strong lesson was how quickly Ben had reacted or had noticed more than anything else that this was a problem.
that's
And that
leadership.
this was that's it, yeah. And that this was a massive shift
That's
in
leadership. Yeah.
in his routine. And he was like, right, he got that within 2 days. He was like,
Yeah.
right, this is bullshit and this is going to fuck me up. So he
Yeah.
put his hand up and said, right, I can see some bullshit going on here now. And then he reacted to it straight away.
There you
That was
go.
class.
And it's like, even he applied, so he had a shit week in work, down, the team's down. He's under serious pressure. He's carrying more responsibility than he normally would. And it's like, he had a week, basically over the weekend, he asked, could he be on a coaching call, the hot seat, so we can get him clear. By the time it was Tuesday and we were having the call, he'd already rectified a lot of the problems. Do you know what I mean? He'd already kind of gotten to a point in his head where it was like, okay, well, the situation is better. This is what I'm trying to do to get it sorted. And all my thing was just guiding him in the right direction and giving him the right mindset and making sure everything is all good.
Yeah.
But it
He's
takes,
top of the food chain.
exactly. And it's not about, leadership isn't about having a place of power. Leadership is about leading yourself. You know what I mean? It's making that choice to lead yourself. And a lot of people would have been in Ben's situation and just the house is burning down and you're just going to stand outside the house and just watch it burn down and go, oh, fuck, this is terrible. Whereas he was, you know what I mean? His house started burning down and he looked for the fire extinguisher. You know, it's like, how can I put this thing out immediately? And like, that's the difference, you know? And for some reason, a lot of people, it's not for some reason, I know exactly why, because it's a hard thing to do. And a lot of people don't lead themselves. And this is something to bear in mind with yourself that you need to be conscious of. When shit goes wrong, how do you react to it? You know, if shit goes wrong, you just freak out. And that's an excuse to just go into shitty habits and old ways. Like, you know, that's a problem. That's a big problem. My thing has always been that I've learned over the years is how to deal with my bad days, how to deal with bad weeks, how to fucking bounce back from things. You know, I had a shit week last week, a really shit week last week. And it's like trying to figure out what's going wrong and whatever else. But it's a process of going, okay, well, what happened? Why did it happen? And it's like, what do I need to do to turn this thing around? Because I know I need to turn it around. And when you're a leader in your own life, you know when things need to turn around and you know when things are okay. And that's really important. If you're going back into work and you're under that amount of stress and pressure and your lifestyle is fucking falling off, and obviously if he's joined Chef It like Ben did and he's made this massive change, he knows in his heart of hearts that he's not going back to square one again. It's just not going to happen. So he might have a shit week where it's bad, but he's come so far since January and changed his life that he's like, I'm not going to undo all this work. So as hard as things are right now, I need to fucking find a way to make this work. That was his mentality. That's his mindset. And that is the mindset that you need in order to fucking weather the storm first and foremost. Also understand it's not going to be that bad forever. That hopefully your kitchen will actually get to a point where it's more manageable in terms of the workload. Now, once you have that perspective and once you have that mindset of trying to fucking basically put out the fire as it happens, then it's about the practical steps to doing so. The key things that there's two big things that I instruct the chefs to do in this time, right? Where you're under pressure, under stress, less time, and things are different with your routine. The first thing about being practical about this is making sure that it's like you have to make the workload manageable. If you want to balance your lifestyle with going back to work, you need to make sure that the workload is manageable within your lifestyle. Why am I saying that? Well, if you're going from lockdown where it was like, 3 or 4 months of sitting on the couch where you're waking up, fucking the world is your oyster. You do whatever the fuck you like. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go watch 10 episodes of something on Netflix, fucking rock on. You probably still have time to do your exercise. Like there's no urgency, there's no pressure on you. Whereas as you're going into work, okay, fuck, now you're in work at 10 o'clock and now you're not leaving until midnight. So what do you do there? Well, the key thing is to not expect yourself to get it done, but don't expect yourself to be doing the same workload that you did in lockdown when you had loads of time and then expect to do that same shit when you're doing insane hours. If you're struggling to find time, you need to make sure that the stuff that you are doing is time efficient. So if I have chefs and Chef It, I would far rather, you need to find consistency, and being consistently good is better than being great every once in a while. So it's like Ben in this situation, when he came to me, he's like, fuck, I got one run in last week. Bollocks. You know, normally I get 3 or 4 of those in, and I get 3 bodyweight sessions or a gym session in. And it's like, okay, I would far rather have seen you drop, instead of doing that one fucking 10K that you did, I'd far rather see you do 3 smaller runs that took you, 15, 20 minutes instead of an hour. And I'd far rather see you drop back and be able to do 3 bodyweight beginner sessions that take you 10 minutes than like missing the advanced session because you didn't have the time and it's too fucking hard to fit it in. Again, make that workload manageable. Like, do less intense sessions, but still do them. Do you know what I mean? And that's the whole thing about moving every day. It's like that principle never changes. You still have to fucking move. And when you're not moving, that's why everything's fucked. That's why everything's fucked. Because it's like a chain, like links in a chain. You gotta fucking keep adding a link to your chain. And as soon as you stop, like if you stop and have a week where you've just done one session, it's like that chain's broken. Now you have to rebuild and start all over again. You would have been so much better off if you had to just said, okay, well, I have fuck all time, so I'm going to do something quick. And if it's easier, so fucking be it. But the thing that you must understand is that a week where you still had multiple links in the chain, even if the sessions weren't great, you still have the momentum. Whereas if you stop completely, you've lost all momentum. And now you're starting from scratch again. That will fuck you more than anything. So if you're looking to maintain your lifestyle, you need to shorten the stuff if need be. Because the satisfaction of doing that is going to far exceed, oh, fuck, well, I got the one good session in, I suppose. It's like, no, get multiple fucking smaller sessions in. And that's going to keep things fucking not only on your day to day, you're going to be in a better headspace because you're doing something, but you're also maintaining the momentum with your lifestyle.
What I do is think bare minimum and work up from there.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good way of doing it, right? Could I at least do that? Yeah. Could I do a 10-minute bodyweight session? Yeah. Could you do a 20-minute? Could you get the intermediate done? Well, yeah, of course I could. Well, then you can do the advanced. You know what I mean? And then, so from thinking that, fuck, I don't have time to do anything, and when I'm going to have to set the room, like, talking about bodyweight sessions, but I'm going to have to set the room up. I'm going to take 15 minutes to stretch it out. And then you go, well, if you can get that done, then why not? Like sometimes what I do is I'd start walking and then run around the block. And then when I come back, I'm warmed up and I'm ready to go. The heart rate's elevated. And then you can go straight into a good chipper. You know what I mean? And then you're after doing way more than the bare minimum, which was, as you started off, was I'm just going to do a 10-minute body workout or a beginner chipper.
Exactly. Because if you start small, you can fucking build from there. And the getting it done is the most important part. So whatever you need to do to get it done, that's what needs to happen. And when you start getting it done, at least as Peter said, you can progress from there and you can add shit, you can put stuff in, but you have a baseline. That's your bare minimum that you need to do. You need to have a bare minimum. If you're just going from perfection, getting everything done, to getting nothing done, like that's a fucking waste. That's worse than anything, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Then you're going to run into, well, I can't do perfection, so I just won't do anything because I'm not going to do it unless I can do everything.
Yeah, so all or nothing mindset is bullshit. And it's something that you cannot have as if you're a chef looking to change your lifestyle and be healthy and fucking improve your confidence and all the shit that we normally talk about. You can't have an all or nothing mindset because you're going to have weeks where you can't put everything in or get everything done. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, whether it's lack of time or shit happening, whatever. It's going to be very difficult to do that. So again, fuck the all or nothing, consistently good. That's what you're aiming for, and reducing your workload and making that your bare minimum. You know what I mean? That's the key. So that's the first step of being practical about it. The second step is probably the most important out of all of it. And that is mapping out your week. And actually, instead of going, I don't have time, it's organizing your time. You know what I mean? Like I get that excuse. I understand when things are turbulent and difficult and you're under pressure and you're overthinking shit that in your head, you're like, oh, I just don't have time for this right now. And it's like, I get that mentality. I understand that excuse, but the reality is it is an excuse, and it's an excuse that stops you from finding a way to make the best of a bad hand. You've been dealt you've been dealt, you know what I mean? Let's say we're playing Texas Hold'em. Okay, pal, you've been dealt a fucking 2 and you've been dealt, you know what I mean, an 8. It's a fairly shit hand. So it's
4-8 offsuit.
You know, so it's not a great hand. But the reality is you still have to fucking play the thing. You know what I mean? You still have to play the thing. So why not make the best of it and figure out what's the best way to play this, as opposed to just going, it's a fucking shit hand, can't do it. You know, fold. It's like, you can't fold. You have to fucking find a way. So the way that you do it is that if you know you're working this week, grand, lay out your roster on the fucking page. It's like Monday through Sunday. When are you working? What days, what times? And literally write it out like a column. And it's like, Monday, okay, what time? Start work at 11 o'clock, finish till close, whatever time that normally is. What time does that leave me? Well, if I wake up at 8:30, that means I have between 8:30 and fucking 10:30 to do something before I have to go to work. At least you know you have a 2-hour block, Chef It Cat.
Chef It
Cat.
Preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Exactly. So if you think about your week being laid out like that, the ability to prepare when things are going to happen in the week increases your chances of actually doing them properly. Not only showing up and doing it, but doing it properly. So if you write down on a Monday, well, I'm going to do a fucking quick bodyweight session at this time. Tuesday, okay, well, I'm in early and I'm finishing till close, but I have a 2-hour split. Okay, that leaves me a time slot to maybe get a walk or a jog in. Wednesday, I'm totally in the shit, so I can't get something done there. Thursday, I can fit some time in because I'm not in till later. Like, this is how you do it. And it's like, instead, if you do this on a Sunday or before the week starts and you map out what your roster is and you map out what time you do have available, then it's about taking that manageable workload we talked about, the smaller sessions that you can do, and slotting them into the time that you have available. And even if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. It's better than what you were fucking probably going to do, which was wing it, try and see if you can get it done, probably not get it done, and then beat yourself up over it. That's not the way to do it. You know, the way to do it is ahead of time, be very, very clear, black and white, facts, not feelings. What's the week look like? Map out the fucking time available and make use of that time. And then it's just a decision. Then it's just a commitment. And it's just like, are you going to show up and do it or not? But the reality is, if you make things real by writing them down, you will find it much easier to make that commitment. Whereas if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know when you're doing it, chances are when the time comes to do it, you don't know what you're doing anyway. So it's like, oh, will I, won't I? No. Chance of making an excuse ramped up to fucking 10. Whereas if you're fucking tired, if you're bollocksed and you still know that tomorrow I have to do it at this time, even though you're tired, you're probably going to find a way to do it. And that's important. It's the last thing.
That's where the tribe becomes the flop, the turn, and the river.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And having that accountability.
When it comes to that, when you have everything laid out and you know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, having other people there holding you accountable to it is, for me, is the key for consistency and not dropping off.
Also, the other thing is actually seeing other people doing it, doing the thing that you know you should be doing. And that really fucking drives you in a lot of situations. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder, I know it for a fact that there's a lot of chefs that are in Chef It, that are in that tribe, that might have the struggles that we're talking about. And fuck, I had a shit week, or I can't get it done, or I'm struggling to find the time. And then they look in the group and they see a chef who is making the time, who is doing it, who is making it happen, even though they're working the same as that person. And it's like, it almost gives you permission. We talk about motivation a lot, and like, yeah, it's almost permission in your mind. It's like, no, you can fucking do it. This is what you do, go and do it. And it's black and white. No longer, the excuse is no longer relevant. Whereas if you are by yourself, excuses are easy to come by, and they're also easily justifiable. And they're easily justifiable because no one's there to go, that's actually bollocks, pal. That's bullshit excuse. You know what I mean? Whereas if you do have people calling you out on that and showing you what can be done, it eliminates that out of your mind. You know what I mean? And it ensures that you're actually going to execute the thing. And that's ultimately the most important thing you can take away from this, is once you have your week mapped out, accountability is going to be key. But you know, it's having accountability and having your week mapped out. It stops you from giving in to the emotional state that you might find yourself in. And this is what people need to understand about like our head is when we're tired and we're fatigued, we end up in a negative emotional state where we're just kind of like, oh, I can't be fucking bothered. And you get in your own head and you overthink things. You're almost reacting to things. You're on the defense. You're not on the offense anymore. And when you have your shit planned out properly and you have accountability, you're going to be able to work through feeling like that and get it done anyway, as opposed to if you were by yourself and you were just winging it without planning it, you didn't have anyone to answer to, well, of course you're going to go missing. Of course you're fucking not going to do it. You know, and that's what you got to understand. That's why Chef It worked, and that's why it's worked so well during lockdown for a lot of people. It's because it's like you have the environment where it keeps you accountable. You're seeing what others are doing. It calls you on your bullshit, and it allows you to fucking just get clear and fucking do it. But it also forces you to be organized and plan your shit. And anyone that's serious about it plans their shit out. And it means that they've got a plan of action to go off. No plan, fucking who knows what happens. Plan, at least if you don't get all of it done, you'll get most of it done. That's the way it works, you know? So I suppose from the top, guys, and really, you know, condensing this into a package, it's not going to be like this forever. If you're in the shit right now, it's not going to be like that forever. And it is like that forever, then you got to question why you're working there. You know, but if it isn't, if it's a place that actually runs the way it should run, ideally this is a fucking couple of weeks where you're in the shit, and then whether it's staff coming back or things just normalize and go back to normal properly, the pressure is going to be off. So the key thing is not to think that you're going to be in rags forever and work. It's not. Hopefully it'll be maximum a couple of weeks. The second thing then is about being practical. Once you have the right perspective, then it's about, okay, what can I practically do to make sure that this is, you know, I'm having a successful transition from lockdown back into work. I'm able to maintain my lifestyle and be healthy and all of those things. Practically, you got to understand that the workload must be manageable. You can't just expect, you know, the 2 hours of exercise that you might have been doing in lockdown, maybe you only have time for 30 minutes now, you know, and it's important that you identify that and you do the right thing, which is shorten your sessions, but still get them done. You need to get them done. And once you know what sessions you're doing, then it's about planning and organizing the week. The week needs to be done in a way where you get your roster, fucking lay it down, get a diary or a piece of paper. Okay, what time are we in work? What time does that leave us with that's available to get something done with my lifestyle? There you go. That's where you slot those sessions in. So not only do you have sustainable amount of work to be done, but you also know when you're doing it and exactly what you're doing in those time blocks. Then it's just making the commitment in your mind to show the fuck up and do that thing and understand the importance of doing that thing. You drop the ball on lifestyle will bite you in the arse. That's how it works. You know what I mean? It catches up to you. And anyone that drops the ball on it knows what that feels like. Gaining weight, you know what I mean? Not being confident in yourself, lacking that energy, not feeling focused or motivated to do things. Those are all the negative effects of dropping the ball with your lifestyle. So the key thing is you must commit to fucking getting it done and understand the importance of doing it. I know the importance for myself personally. Peter does as well. A lot of the chefs we coach know that. For you listening to this right now, you must also be clear on that. And if you don't understand the importance of it, we need to dive a little bit deeper. If you wanted to dive deeper, again, you know, a consult with Chef It, if you wanted to join, would be a massive, massive benefit. Even the 5-day challenge or the 5-day course where we take you through the problem and the clarity and the goals that you need to have, that will also get you clear on why it's important for you to make a change and maintain a healthy lifestyle, you know. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, guys. Don't freak out. Don't fucking retreat, reload.
And pack your bag. Have your, you know, pack your bag the night before for work, pack your bag for the gym. Just be ready for the next day today.
Yeah, exactly. Stay one step ahead.
Every day, every single day.
Because it's like, again, if you wake up and you've already prepared for the task to be done, you're going to do the task. If you haven't prepared for it, fucking who knows? And that's the key thing.
You already have one extra excuse in the morning if you're not ready.
100%. So folks, that is our episode today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on Podbean if you're listening to the audio version of this, or on iTunes as well. Please leave a long 5-star review for us and show support to the podcast. Also, share this on your social media platforms and tag a chef who needs to hear it. And if you found this really, really beneficial, I'm sure someone else will find this beneficial as well. Yeah, that's fucking been our episode today. 65, folks.
Boom.
You know it. Petey, good shit as always. I will
Nice
see
one, bro.
everyone in the funny papers. Stay safe. Fucking don't retreat. Reload, son. Be good.